Hello, my name's Alaska,
And my name is Adam Pascal,
and
and
you're
you're
listening
listening to
to
Main
Main
Pod
Pod
Girl.
Girl.
Hey, welcome to Main Pod Girl, a podcast made by Popheads for Popheads. Every episode, we'll be diving into all kinds of pop culture topics with some of our favorite artists and music commentators. I'm your host, AJ Marks, and I'm so excited to introduce today's special guests. Behind door number one is legendary Tony nominated stage and film actor known for his roles on Broadway in classic shows such as Rent, Aida, Cabaret, Chicago, and so many more. He was also in School of Rock, which is important to me, and the film version of Rent. It's Adam Pascal.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me, AJ.
Yes, thank you for being on. And behind door number two is the queen of the cat house and season 2 winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars. She's a singer, an actress, a podcast host, truly one of the first names you think of when you think of drag, at least for me, and now a playwright. Shakespeare who? It's Alaska Thunderfuck 5000.
Yeah, hello. This is the moment.
When the gods expect me.
We're gathered here today to celebrate this beautiful musical that y'all have put together. Alaska, you wrote the book and the lyrics and the music for this, correct?
Well, yes, I mean, I wrote it with my two writing partners, but yes, Tomas and Ash. Hi.
It's called Drag the Musical. I saw it, I think, what was it, like 2 weeks ago or something? And it was phenomenal. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you the last time I've had this much fun at a show. Like, genuinely, like, I cried twice. I was laughing at every joke landed. I'm like not even blowing kisses up your ass. Like I'm being for real. So I guess my first question is what's the moment of this show that y'all look forward to every night? Like or look forward to like the crowd's reaction from?
Well, you go first, Adam. I mean, I think I can guess for you, but uh
Well, I don't know if you can because I this has only happened a couple of times,
oh,
and which is that look, my character is very triggering for a lot of people that come to see our show.
right.
And so there is a very often a visceral and also very often audible reactions to some of the things that my character says in the show and does in the show. And so, but there was a few times where people have actually shouted things out at me from the audience. And I always take that honestly as a compliment in that I'm doing my job properly if I'm eliciting that response, I think, in a way from people. But no, but I don't look forward to that per se. But I do like to know that what I'm doing is landing. So
What's the wildest thing that someone shouted out to you?
oh, somebody called me an asshole.
Just
Asshole.
random.
Yeah, literally that's exactly what happened.
I was there that night. I was
Asshole.
like in the audience that
You
night.
were watching. That's right. You were watching
It
that
was
night.
me.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't me.
And that was Alaska shouting at Adam. That was not the audience
Oh
shouting at
my God, I
Tom.
love that. All right.
Yeah. So, yes, and I've had just lots of hissing and things, and again, it's very triggering for people. There was a moment last week where during the scene with Brendan where I'm telling him to take off the clothes, and somebody shouted out. I think what they shouted out was, "He's fine." You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
so like I completely empathize with the effect that this character may elicit from some people, have on some
Totally.
people.
you're reminding everyone of their tormentors in their real lives.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I've never played a character like that. Even when my characters that I've played have done questionable things, like it's never been like this,
mm,
like I'm kind of a disliked
mm.
character, at least the way I see it, and of course he has a turn at the end, but I've never done that before, and it's great. It's such an amazing experience to have every night, and again have that opportunity to come to Jesus
And that was
Every
like,
night.
and that was like part of the like journey of writing the character of Tom because we were like, oh, we're afraid that the audience isn't gonna like him, but like part of the journey is like they're not supposed to completely like him because he is in the wrong. Like throughout the thing, a lot of the characters are in the wrong about things, and that's the point. And you
Mm.
to come to the other side is the journey. So luckily, you bring a sort of like charm and charisma to Tom. So like even through his like misgivings and his not fully understanding and not really getting it, you still are like, I still want to root for this guy to like
Oh,
to figure it out.
thanks.
I was rooting for him. Oh, I was rooting. I was not for what he was, not for what his goals were at the time, but I was rooting for, some sort of redemption. This was like framed in a way where I think it's pretty accurate to real life. It's like people, at least most people themselves, aren't inherently like pushing this agenda, but they're more like they just don't understand a lot of things because of the way that society is built, right? They're just perpetuating things that they hear, that they grew up with, or that they know, because that's what's around them, and they haven't really ever been challenged on that. And so it's really beautiful to see moments where they get challenged on that, and they eventually rise to the occasion.
Well, it's kind of amazing in a way also that like this same story has been told, and I don't mean this in a way, in a derivative way. What I'm saying is like this same story has been told for however many years about somebody struggling in a family and somebody you know what I mean? And not that that's the only part of the story, but in that particular, that struggling with, being accepted for who they are with by their family and that kind of thing. Like, I'm sure there was an Archie Bunker episode of it, where there was a character who's, you know what I mean? It's like there's been progress, but there also hasn't been progress because this same thing keeps
Mm,
occurring. This same dynamic keeps occurring and having really real life negative ramifications for people growing up,
Mm.
you
yeah.
know?
So, Alaska, what is your thing that you look forward to the most?
I love this song. It's a drag. I mean, I also love my first entrance. Like, we wrote it so that I sort of have like a Frankenfurter entrance in that I don't start at the very beginning of the show.
Mhm.
I get some time before I actually appear, which I love that. It gives me time to put my nails on. But I love my entrance because the door opens and the like everyone, turns and the lights and like that's it's very dynamic. It's an exciting entrance. It's all about an entrance for a drag queen.
I agree. I
Yeah.
watch it every night from backstage, and every night I love it.
Yeah, it's
And I
fun.
would actually say that about the entire show, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
watch the whole show every night when I'm not on.
Yeah. And I also love the song It's a Drag because the show is like a fucking freight train and it just goes and it's loud and it's, bum 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 bum. And so It's a Drag is the one moment in the show where really like it slows down. It's just the piano, it's just me and a table and a martini and a cigarette. And that's where I like sort of live as fucking drag queen, like normally, is just like me and a piano and making noises with my voice. So I get to do that for a little bit, and it's a drag, and I like that.
I also really love the how you put the show where it's like it is a freight train. Like from the very get-go, it's like lights and like singing and like more singing and it's just very bright and bold, and you should have seen me like in the audience. I was like I couldn't stop smiling for like the first 20 minutes. I like couldn't even scrape it off of my face. It was great because it's so rare that a show comes out and it's so captivating so quickly, and I really loved those elements of it. How did this idea start out, and at what point did you know it had to be musical? Right? Because it was a concept album before.
Well, we had always intended it to be a musical.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this was like 8 years ago, and Tomas, Tomas and Ash, I had made music with them, like a bunch of my albums and songs I made with them. And Tomas was like, "Hey, do you want to do a musical?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So we started with the music because that was our strong suit,
Mhm.
and then we went from there and just sort of started putting it together. And we had like a loose concept of like I wanted to be about like two drag houses that are totally different and they totally hate each other and they just don't get along. And that was like our starting point.
Mhm.
And yeah, we did put out the concept album first, which is unusual, but that was our like thing. Like we were like we know how to make music together. So like let's get this out first. Get people knowing the songs and excited about this thing coming to life. And I think it worked. I think it worked really good.
Totally. Yeah, I wanted to go in blind. I was so excited to know absolutely nothing. I like to do it with like movies and shows and stuff. Like know absolutely nothing, go in and just be surprised. And that it really worked. And I've been listening to the album since. And then Adam, how did you first hear about the show and what drew you to join the cast?
Well, actually, it came about because one of the producers, Scott Preisand, and I went to high school together,
Oh,
and his wife as well, his wife Marnie. And so I've known them since high school. We all, since we were kids. And of course, Scott also produced Rock of Ages, and so we'd been talking about doing something together for a long time and looking for a project that we could do. And then just this opportunity came up, and he called me and asked me if I'd be interested in coming in after Joey left because he wasn't staying very long. And so I had wanted to do something off Broadway. This is the first off Broadway show I've done since
oh
Rent.
well.
So it's been, almost 30 years because I've lived in Los Angeles for so many years. And just economically to come back and relocate across the country to do off Broadway was never something I was able to do. But I've since moved back east. And so the opportunity was available to me. And I went and saw the show, and I fell in love with it on so many levels, and I just knew that I wanted to be part of it. And so it was an easy yes for me, you know.
I love that. So you both are pretty tied to your characters, but if you could play a different character from the musical, who would it be?
I always want to be the tigress because she doesn't
Oh,
have a ton of lines, but she kind of just gets like she gets little zingers in here and there, and she gets to just be like kind of cunty and fierce. Who would you want to play, Adam?
You,
Oh,
Kitty.
okay, great.
Absolutely.
We'll do a switch
Well,
some night.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because look, I feel like you've created this character as iconic as any in musical theater that I can think of, and of course I think of the way Alan Cumming reimagined the MC, and of course Tim Curry in Rocky Horror, and like and so many characters, Cameron Mitchell as Hedwig, and but just anything that comes after you, in my opinion, you're the sort of template of the character. And it's for somebody like me who has spent most of my career, frankly, taking over for other people, like and stepping in for already established, I've always had the most fun doing that because basically, and I've always said this about my singing too. In my mind, I'm just doing an impression of that person. Like I'm just trying to do what that, and it doesn't come out that way because the me-isms just it can't help but seep in there. But like in my head, like if I was to do the role of Kitty, like everything I would do would just be my impression of you,
Oh,
but it would be filtered through me, and to me that is so much fun, and I love what you do so much, and I have, as everyone does in the theater, when you hear the same show night after night after night, certain things get stuck in your head, you know what I mean,
yeah.
that other actors are doing that you hear them do every night, and there are so many Alaska isms that
mm.
that I have in my head at all times, just little phrases that you say throughout the course of the show that I just love it, So yes, I would be Kitty.
Well, great. Anytime you want to go on for me.
Yes,
Okay.
please invite me to that show. I would love to see that.
That would be sickening.
So you said the original inspiration for the storyline was two feuding drag houses. What were the elements that were maybe added last? Like what were the finishing touches, maybe even after the album was put out?
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you go back and listen to the album now, you're like, what the fuck is this song? Like there's a lot of songs that are on there that didn't make the cut because they were treading on territory we had already covered and there wasn't time. And there are songs that we've since added that aren't on the original soundtrack. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the latest elements are we added this song called The Showdown, which
Mm.
is it used to be a scene, the scene where Kitty and Alexis finally are in the same room together. And we didn't want them to just have a conversation. Like that didn't really do it justice. So we were like, let's make this song that's kind of like an opera and they're saying all the things they said in the scene, but they're singing it and it's very dramatic and there's like visions and people popping out. So that's like one of the latest things.
It's so funny just for that moment in particular because the way you're describing it, like that idea to turn that scene into a song came later. It wasn't the original idea, but
Yeah.
now it's such an iconic, amazing moment in the show. You know what I mean? And the song is so great. The whole scene is so amazing. And, it speaks to the process of creating a musical that like you guys eventually came to the conclusion that, oh no, this needs to be a song. And then it was written and now it's this amazing part of the show. It's just, yeah, some that doesn't always happen. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's with the creation of musicals. Sometimes people don't see that light, or sometimes it's they've got a song and it's like, you know what, this is too. We don't this. We could say this in three sentences in a
Hmm.
scene, and we don't need this song. And let's, you know what I mean? Like, it's alchemy is very important. That type of alchemy in creating a musical.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are definitely some musicals out there where I'm like, it's like that. This meeting could have been an email kind of vibe where I'm like, this didn't have to be a song. So it's very fascinating to watch the progression of, and I'm always fascinated by filmmakers and playwrights and whomever who shapeshift their own work and some things that are so like they're centerpieces, right? They're so central to the show weren't there in the very beginning. And so it's just, I'm sitting there and I'm wondering like when did this like Brendan's storyline come into play? Like was the play already written and then that was like added on, or like was it something else that was kind of like, oh, and then these two could fall in love, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the idea of having a family element was always there from the beginning.
Love that.
And that was something that Tomas really was insistent upon and brought to the table and was like, we need to have like a young person and we need to have a brother family dynamic.
Mm.
And I think it's essential because that became what I think the show is actually about. Like we sort of get in the door with it's about drag queens and they're fighting and they're being catty and cunty, but really at the core it's about family. And the drag queens are a family and Tom and Alexis and Brendan are a family. And it's about like finding out a little bit more about yourself through the art form of drag. So Tomas was like, yeah, we have to have a kid. And
Mm.
so yeah, we drew upon what it's like to be a young person and not just a queer young person or someone who wants to do drag necessarily, but any young person who doesn't feel fully understood by their parents, I think can identify with Brendan and
Yeah.
what he's going through.
You can tell like something is up in the first couple scenes because there's this some like weird hesitation going on, and I just thought
Mhm.
that was very realistic. Like kids are shy. Kids are they're either shy or they're not. But
Yeah.
I thought it was really really well done. And when I tell you, I sobbed during the two numbers. It's so pretty, and I'm just
Oh,
Brendan. It was like five
oh yeah.
minutes of just like it couldn't stop coming out.
Well, you know what? When I first saw the show, what struck me the most, and what I now continue to emphasize, is that you know it's a musical in the truest sense of the word. You know what I mean? It's an original book, it's an original story, it's original characters, and it's a wonderful story and an important story. One of the biggest responses I get, other than after that was awesome, was I had no idea what to expect.
Mm.
Hmm.
And there's been a bit of a hurdle, and I think continues to be, for people to know that's what this show is, and that the drag part of it is the world that it exists in, but that's not what the show is about. Like it's such a universally appealing show, And it's been, again, a goal of mine to continue to promote that idea about this show. I think we have the most fun show in New York. I think people consistently leave our show happy and having had a great time. And I've been in a lot of shows. I've been in a lot of good shows, but people still leave unhappy. Our audiences don't. They really
Oh,
don't.
I love that. Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I've been telling so many of my friends to go and see this, and a couple of them are like, "Well, I'm not really like into drag. I don't know anything about drag. Like, would I still like it?" And I go, "Yeah." And I think if anything, it'll just be a big gateway into loving drag. I mean, just seeing all those costumes like on stage, like in person, it hits different than on a TV screen. It really does. And yeah, and I love how the show doesn't only tackle like the adult baggage, the aftermath that comes with being ostracized for your identity, but also gives you a chance to see the other version of events, the idealized like the acceptance and like where a kid is accepted for who they are, and like in a way it kind of feels like going back in time and like healing your younger self, like giving a little pet to your younger self and be like, it's gonna be okay. Is that kind of what it feels like to you? Just like going back in time and like righting wrongs, I guess.
It is, and that's a major part of it. And in creating it, we had to draw upon some stuff that wasn't exactly comfortable.
Mm.
I mean, I brought some stuff from how I felt as like a shy, introverted kid who just felt like, what am I supposed to do like with myself? And then when I finally found theater, and then when I finally found drag, I was like, oh my God, this is a world where I make sense finally. And so to imagine having that as a young person is extremely like is it's extremely healing. And yeah, it's a good feeling.
Were you careful in making sure each character had a song and a moment to shine?
Yeah, and that's something that evolved over time. Like we used to have like a duet that was between Tom and Dixie,
Hmm.
who are sort of the lovers in the story. And we were like, I don't know if I don't know if that's getting the most mileage out of these characters because like Tom is in such a unique situation because he's the one straight guy in this crazy, colorful world. And like, that's interesting. I want to hear a song about that. And Dixie is, she lives her life as a cis woman and she participates in the art form of drag and she's one of the girls.
Mm.
And like, that's very interesting to me. Like, there are a lot of women who love drag and feel empowered by it as an art form. And so it's like, so that song was great. So yes, we wanted everybody to have a moment to really like go off and be showcased.
I think that also speaks to the mechanics of creating a musical and what the things that sort of quote unquote need to happen for your characters. And also the alchemy of, like we were saying before, like knowing when I really like this song, I really like this moment, but for whatever reason, we have to cut it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like there's so many reasons why these decisions get made, and knowing what's right for the overall picture. And sometimes that hurts. Sometimes you lose moments that you really like. And but that's goes with any editing, anything, right? A film or whatever it is. Sometimes just even some of the good stuff doesn't work for the overall picture. And so,
Yeah.
um, but uh, but yeah, we all, look, everybody wants to have a moment. And I think everybody gets some great moments. Certainly the principals and Kitty and Alexis and but I think everyone really gets to make their mark. Like again, I watch the show every night, and so I see where everyone stands out. I see where all the queens stand out and have their moments, and they're great.
100%. And there's that even that like that run off, that riff off, like in the
Oh
middle
yeah.
where it's like I was gagged. I really was like Jan Sports like runs. I was just like, this is
Uh,
incredible. incredible, incredible. And yeah, I really had a hard time picking a favorite. I still to this day, I can't pick a favorite in the show because I just was so, so, so impressed with every character, and I really felt like I loved them for all different reasons. But I will shout out Puss Puss Dubois because
Oh yeah.
I really do like how that character was handled. I feel like they were two interesting trios, like in either drag house, right? And they showed off different dynamics. They weren't just like copies of the same dynamic.
Hmm.
And I think often with trios or with groups or TV shows, you have like the ones that know what's going on, and then the one like dumb one, right? The one that's kind of like aloof and whatever.
Yeah.
And what I've seen, at least, in the past 10 or 15 years, is the quote unquote dumb one lacks like any common sense to the point where you're like, how do you exist? Like I think of like Cat Valentine, Ariana Grande's character in Victorious. Everyone calls that like refers to the lobotomy of Cat, right? Where in the
Uh,
first season she's like competent, she's just like very weird and quirky, and she just makes you laugh. And then by the time she gets to Sam and Cat, the spin-off show, you're like, how does this girl take care of herself? Like how does she
yeah.
know what to do at any given point? Like how does she even understand English? So I really like that Puss Puss kind of slots into the role of quote unquote the dumb one, but she's not dumb. She's just, if anything, she's the new girl, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't have all the context, and she's like not in the know, but she could be any of us. And she's honestly, in many times, the most logical, and that's what makes it funny. She's out of step
Yeah.
because she's more logical than the others. And I just thought that was really interesting because it's like you have the funny man and the straight man, and she's logically the straight man, but comedically the funny man. And it works
Hmm.
so well. So I just wanted to shout out Puss Puss.
Hell yeah.
And Nick Laughlin, the
Yes,
the
and
the
Nick
actor
Laughlin.
who embodies her.
Yeah, and I mean we're so lucky to have such like talented freaks in this fucking show. Like people
Mm.
who are good at drag and then on top of that can also sing and dance and are also hilarious and who also show up. We're just really lucky. And Nick Laughlin, who plays Puss Puss, is one of those people who's been a part of the musical since the beginning and has brought so much of that comedy and that heart to that character. So, as have, all the girls.
Yes, absolutely. And so I have one final question for each of you. Alaska, I'll start with you. How was writing this project different from the process of making your own music?
I mean, it's very different and it's harder. And I mean, this is like the longest term thing I think I've ever worked on in my whole life.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
writing an album, takes like a year pretty much. Or maybe you have ideas, but like the work of it is like, and it's for me. And, that's pretty clear and cut and
Mm.
dry. And I know where it's going. But this has been such an evolution and such a team effort and has been such a long road. And it's rewarding because it's not just me involved. It's not just me, singing it. It's like there's all these people who are brilliant and wonderful and who are bringing it to life. I remember the first time that we like were rehearsing and these songs that we had written and these jokes that we had written were getting said by people and it was hilarious and they sounded sickening and it was like, oh my God, this is like really something. And that was like one of the most rewarding things I've ever experienced.
Oh,
And it continues to be.
I love that. Yeah, that must be such a thrill.
Yeah.
Not only getting the laugh from the audience on a line that you've written, but having someone else interpret the line in a way maybe you didn't expect. And you're like, oh,
Love it.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And so, Adam, my question for you is, I got to talk about Rent just for a second because this is my favorite musical of all time.
No, no Ren
Oh,
questions.
okay.
I'm
Okay,
kidding.
well, I was gonna say
This
because
interview is over.
I'm out of here.
asshole. That'll be me next
That's
time.
right.
But it was so thrilling seeing you live after an entire childhood growing up in the Rent soundtrack. I think I've played the Rent
Thank
soundtrack
you.
more than I've played any album in my life.
Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much. I appreciate that.
I love your involvement in Rent's legacy, playing the role of Roger, I think in 4 different runs and the movie, appearing in cameo roles for Tick Tick Boom and Rent Live, and directing your own version a couple years ago. So, in your opinion, what's the reason that musical has had such a strong legacy and is able to connect with so many people?
Ultimately, the same reason any musical that lasts does, in that its music and its melodies and its story and it's the way it was created has cemented itself into being timeless. It's able to, continue to find new generations of
Mm.
fans, and that goes for all different kinds of musicals of all different styles and from all different, creators. And so, it's hard to put a formula to that. It's hard to make it, because so much of that it has to do with things that are out of the creative's
Mm.
hands. You know what I mean? Like it has to be great, but it also has to then become really successful. And that success has to then translate into long-term continuation of acquiring fans and, and continuing to connect. Whatever the story's being told continues to connect. And so it has proven itself to be, and you never know this in the moment, but it has proven itself to be a timeless story with timeless music told by timeless
Mm.
characters. You know what I mean? And again, what the alchemy is that causes that is complex, for any show. But, I got to be honest with you, like I'm amazed by it. You can't not be. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Maybe someone isn't, but like I'm amazed by it. There's such an interesting irony, like an overlap and intertwine. Like, I grew up in New York City playing in rock bands in the same way that the character of Roger did,
Mm.
right? And the song "One Song Glory" is his desire song to leave his mark in the world. He's gonna die, and to leave something creative behind that people will remember him for. I had that same desire as a person growing up and wanting to be Bono, like, and so in this strange way, I have now achieved that goal for myself and for the character of Roger by performing that character in this musical, which has now given him that song and me as given a song and a cementing of something in the sort of zeitgeist of entertainment, and you know what I mean.
Oh,
And it's
interesting.
it's just this yeah, it's this very strange weird intertwining of things,
Hmm.
and I'm so grateful that I'm part of this thing and continue to be part of it, and look, it's a juggling act to have a really long career like I've had and juggle how much of it to continue to keep my tendrils in and how much to try and get away and do other things. Of course you want to, it's maddening to do the same, and also, you age out of things, you know what I mean? I could never be in the show anymore. And it's this amazing part of my life that has given me so much. And so I continue to pay respect to it and to draw on it when it makes itself available to do that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And now we come to the last part of the show, which is pop quiz. So it's a little trivia segment inspired by the card game Tension. How it works is we're going to give you a theme, and you're going to have to name as many things as you can think of that fit that category. And you get points for each thing that you name that counts. So we're only going to play one round. It's just going to be a minute long. You have 60 seconds to name all
God,
of
I
the
talk
20.
slow. I'm doomed.
It's okay. You guys are both going to be able to participate in this
Okay, okay, great,
at the
great,
same
great,
time, so
great.
you can help each other
Tag
out.
team. All right.
Oh, we're doing this at the
Yeah,
same
same
time.
time for the
Okay.
same goal. All right. So 1 minute on the clock as soon as I say the category. The category is the 25 longest running musicals on Broadway.
Phantom of the Opera.
Hmm.
Cats.
Um,
Hmm.
Les Mis,
Les Mis, yep.
Um,
Chicago,
Yep. Yeah,
Rent,
I was gonna say, yeah.
Wicked,
Okay. Wait. Yeah.
Little Shop of Horror. Oh wait, no, that's not Broadway.
Wow, there's a lot here. Yeah, let's see. There's so many that
Oklahoma.
Wait, is that on here? No, it's not.
The Music Man.
No.
God, Gypsy?
No.
No. God.
16 seconds.
Jekyll and Hyde? No. I'm so bad at this.
No shit.
Hamilton, is that up there already?
Hamilton is not. So yeah. No,
not yet. Okay.
Oh, I mean, like it's on there now, but you didn't say it already. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that is your time. Yeah.
Time? We didn't do
so
well, Alaska.
The Phantom of the Opera was number 1, Chicago number 2. The Lion King
we
was
got the top ones.
Yeah, the Lion King.
Lion King.
Lion King, of course.
Then Wicked was 4, you got that. Cats was 5, you got that. Les Mis was 6, you got that. 7 was A Chorus Line. 8 was Oh Calcutta, which I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen anything from that.
Who could
That's
forget?
Before all of our times.
9 is Mamma Mia. 10 is Beauty and the Beast. 11 was Rent. And then the other ones on there are like Book of Mormon, Jersey Boys, Miss Saigon, Aladdin, 42nd Street, Grease. And then Hamilton's number 18. And then the rest are a little bit more random, like Tobacco Road and Life with Father and stuff. Yeah. But
so we won,
yeah.
right?
I mean, honestly,
Thank you.
Usually when I play this game with people, they struggle to get 5. So you got 7.
We did pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's hard once you
60
get past
seconds,
those
that's
big
fast.
Ones.
Exactly. And some of those I've never even heard of.
Also, just knowing that you're timed, like for me at least, that freaks me out. Like I used to be terrible at the Mad Minutes in school, like where they time you to do 60 math problems in 60 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Anyway, so thank you for going out on a stressful note. Please, anyone listening to this, please do yourself a favor. Book a plane or a train or a car trip to New York and go see Drag the Musical. It's so good. I promise you won't regret it.
It's a drag.
It's a drag. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much, Alaska and Adam, for joining me. Thank you, Noah, for the theme music. And thank you to Chris for editing this episode. Make sure to rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on right now. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.